Sure, love to. So Andy comes up, he's president of Campbell Divinity School. He drives up here, comes to my church, Bon Air, and he's got 300 people out here who want to know how to study the Bible better. And so Andy's got this thing called Digging Deeper. And he starts off by saying, I'm asked, I know the first question somebody's going to ask me pretty quickly is, which translation of the Bible is the best? Is it King James? Is it NIV? Is it, New American Standard? Which translation of the Bible is the best? He said, I'll give you an answer. The one you're willing to read. That's the best translation. And from that point, he starts helping folk know how to read the Bible and get it and dig deeper in its meaning. Wouldn't you like that for your church? Wouldn't you like to have that available for your church? You do. One phone call away. We can get Andy or someone from one of our partnering schools, and we have many of them, who would be willing to come. How do we start closing that gap? How many young people have we lost in the ministry because there hasn't been that kind of connection? It was important to me. And when we came in, Randy, you were naming some folk that were important to you, that school you went to, that you still stay connected to. These people influence our young people's lives. How do we make that connection happen again? This isn't idle stuff. This is really significant stuff we're talking about. How to get your church engaged with what's up there and get that engaged into your church. It's where revitalization can happen. And that's only on this side. Let me take you to the other side. This is what will grow a church. This is what sustains a church and nurtures a church. Over here is what grows the church. We got to do more than just sustain ourselves. We just exist to exist, or do we exist to make a difference in the world? So over here on the left, we have something called fresh expressions. Well, let me tell you, all that is every church God has planted some kind of person who's a pioneer in your church who is willing to take the church outside of itself into the community. And I love this because I'm in Collinsville, Virginia. Anybody know where Collinsville is? It's way out on the North Carolina border, out past Danville, out past Martinsville, out in Collinsville. Most economically depressed part of the state. All the factories have shut down. All the young people have moved away. The one thing they ask from us out there, from the pastors, can you give us a counselor? The depression and morale out here is so bad. We need professional counseling. So we do have somebody out there that's working with them. But Larry, pastor of First Baptist Collinsville, happened to come to a BGV meeting, heard this thing about fresh expressions. I think I might have something that I could do with that. Goes back home, talks to his Wednesday night cook, who does their Wednesday night dinners, but never in church on Sundays, because every Sunday he's off at a barbecue contest. And he does that traveling barbecue contest thing. I didn't even know that world exists. I know there's travel sports. I didn't know there was travel barbecue things. So, but he does this travel barbecue thing, and he's gone like 30-some Sundays of the year. Isn't that crazy? And he's complained to Larry that he feels guilty about being out of church. And there's a whole bunch of folks like him at these contests, but they're all out of church too. So Larry goes back and calls him in and says, can we start a church at these events? Wherever the event is, can there be a congregation for him? You all will see each other every weekend. He said, well, I guess, but who's going to lead it? You are. I'm a cook. I don't know how to lead a church. We're going to train you. You are. How are you going to do that? Well, here's how we're going to do it. And he trained him and helped him with sermons. And matter of fact, he videoed the sermons that he did so he could take it with him. Every Sunday now, there's a congregation of 80 to 100 that meet at these barbecue contests. That this guy, and it's a church, a part of First Baptist Collinsville. And Larry stands up every Sunday and says to the congregation, while we're meeting here, there's 80 to 100 people meeting at the same time who can't be here, will never be here, but they're our church family. And now the church has started something in a campground, which is another 100. That's 180 new people to 200 every Sunday worshiping with them. Now what that's done, even though they're not in the pew, not see anybody put anything in the offering plate, the fact that they grew 180 people has so energized the life of that church that people are actually wanting to go to that church because they got some energy. And they see the church cares about people, not trying to keep a building going. And all of a sudden, it's a whole different environment. That fresh expression has saved more churches. We've got a video, I wish I could show you, but I don't have time, of a church destined to close. It already had gone to the bank to close, but started some fresh expressions in the community. Now that church is thriving. All I know is Gannon Sims will be more than happy to come talk to you about some creative ways, and Brian can help you too, about some creative ways you can make an impact in your community. Not only will you affect lives there, it will bring energy back to your church. You'll see yourself doing things for the kingdom again. That's one of the best things we have. The crazy thing with that is, now Methodists are doing this with us. We have about 12 Methodist dioceses from Florida to New York that are now doing this with us. We have Episcopalian groups. We have Anglican groups that are now doing this with us. This group, we paid 100% of the salaries for this. We only pay 20% now. And there's not one person working there anymore for Fresh Expressions. We have a staff of 17. Because of all these groups that are coming in, and we got to have staff to help train, take care, and service all of that. And by the way, they're enabling us to have funds to be able to help you with staff at your local church. And that creates wonderful how that's working. V3, church planning. Now we've got multiple groups coming in with that with us from all over, wanting to join our training model, want us to train their church planters so we can help, because they were doing the same thing we were doing and it wasn't working. So they're wanting us to take on and train their church planters. Disaster relief. Other groups are wanting to become a part of us. You see something up there called Society for Gospel Awakening. We had to form a society because so many non-Baptist groups wanted to work with us. We had an Anglican church that said, how do we join the BGAV? I said, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a clue on that one. You're Anglican and we're Baptist. Are you going to stop being Anglican? He said, no. Well, we're not going to stop being Baptist. And he said, well, how do we join? I said, well, let's create a society where we can work together. How about that? And he said, okay, that sounds good to me. So you can keep being Anglican and we can keep being Baptist, but we can work together. As a matter of fact, he's chairing the Fresh Expressions board now. That's how crazy it's gotten. And now they're starting to put some dollars in to help keep this ministry going. And scholarships that some of our churches are utilizing. Fresh Expressions, we have the Church of God in Ohio. I mean, not Fresh Expressions, disaster relief. They're saying we can't do disaster relief. We don't have the resources. Could you train us? Can we do it with you? Now they're coming on board, and they're part of the society. They're going to be Baptists, and we're not going to be Church of God, but we can work together. They've got a team this week with our stuff. I see we've got some trailers behind the church here. We've got our stuff down in North Carolina at Washington. They're half of the team that's down there is our Baptist group, BGAV, and Church of God group. Isn't that crazy? And the first team that came, they had a leader for their team. And Dean says, you look familiar. He said, well, I don't know where we've met. He said, but I work for the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm the disaster relief guy for the state of Pennsylvania, the state office, not the Baptist. And I've just discovered when any crisis happens in Pennsylvania, BJV is the first call out, your disaster relief unit we're gonna have to come up to Pennsylvania. And Dean says, you need to bring more Church of God folk, or you're gonna do that. We can't staff all that. We've got teams going down to Washington, North Carolina every week. We've got them booked up all the way through September now. That's a lot of work, folks, to put those teams together. All this over here are ways that we're trying to grow this community. I haven't gotten into the Seattle co-op that's forming, the LA co-op that's going, these community of churches that are our churches out there trying to impact LA while they're at the same time being a part of us. This thing has gone to places we hadn't dreamed about. But once you start putting your sail up and let the Spirit catch it, the Lord's going to take you places you couldn't anticipate. And that's much of where I find the BGAV right now. We'll always be the Baptist General Association of Virginia. But we're becoming more known as the General Association. The question is, do we need to look at that? Or does that need to be something a little more descriptive of us? General Association doesn't say a whole lot. It doesn't to us, but not to other folk. So we've hired a firm to kind of look at that with us. Not going to change BGAV. We'll always be that. But doing business as General Association or what? So we can, in that big pot you saw, make space for others to come work alongside of us. You know. I'll stop there. I could go on, story after story. It's a fun time related to that. But let me let you kind of ask questions. I told you this is complex, but my goal is to make it clear, not simple. Because you can't make this simple. So what questions would you have, or insights, or response? How does this make you feel? All of this.